First of all, welcome. I am glad to see you all here, and obviously the lobbying has been fruitful, so we'll proceed to the rest of our day. We have these esteemed chairs, Mr. Ethan Knight over there, Shauna Kvaidia, Aliha Banerjee, Sanam Yusuf, and most of you know already, Julia Botkin. They will be chairing your committees. They're here to help. Let's begin by dividing into the Rules and Administration Committee. The Foreign Relations is going to remain here, so you can chill, and it will divide by room.
Campaign Act of 1971 to require any candidate of a major party for the office of president to file with the Federal Election Commission a copy of the candidate's income tax returns for 3 of the most recent taxable years. In any case in which such a candidate has not filed with the FEC such income tax returns within 30 days after the nomination date, the FEC shall request the Department of the Treasury to furnish the returns.
And they have the right to their privacy and their tax returns. If they do not want to release it, then they do not have to. And I believe that this bill is trying to take away human rights for people running for the high office.
Any and every American citizen deserves the right of privacy, and the American Commander-in-Chief should be no different.
And this is a human right, the right to privacy, so their taxes should stay where they want them.
I think I can safely say that on the Republican side, the main argument is privacy. But the privacy shield goes completely away when President-elect Trump stepped into the Oval Office.
If they're going to be in a position where they're making laws and they are also breaking them or have broken them in the past, that is just not a good idea, and it will not turn out well for our country, and we have the right to know if they are breaking laws.
The American people are calling for transparency.
The American people do not know whether President Trump has been bribed by other countries, whether he donates to charity at all, whether he's engaged in criminal tax evasion, or whether he's completely innocent.
He's being audited for a few months, so he cannot release his tax returns until that has finished.
Refusing to release your tax returns in itself is a statement about your tax returns.
This is a very special case and it is very rare. This bill will not do anything.
We are still mining in Santa Barbara 38 years later.
We've improved technology since then. We've improved capability to prevent those spills.
There are some senators in this committee and in other committees who are part of multiple subcommittees, which means that they are called floaters, so they can move around. And these senators, feel free at any time to just jump around between committees. I don't personally mind. But yeah, at this time the chair will entertain requests for unmoderated caucuses.
Motion for a 10-minute unmoderated caucus.
An unmoderated caucus, for those who don't know, is basically the lobbying session that you guys just did. You guys get up and talk to each other for 10 minutes, hopefully about amendments. So since this is Model Congress, you have to motion for either a bipartisan unmoderated caucus or a partisan unmoderated caucus. Now what's the difference? Partisan means that the Republicans and Democrats can't talk to each other, and the independent senator will be with the Democrats. All those in favor?
Anything to stop fracking or anything to stop drilling sites in the Pacific Ocean? No way.
You need 2/3 majority.
No, you need a simple.
This area is the area that we're talking about in this committee. Currently, only this area in the Gulf of Mexico is allowed for oil exploration. So,
And in Alaska.
and it's part of Alaska.
Northern California, that top square,
California has a lot,
but the lowest.
And I'm not opening up my most treasured ecosystem for any oil drilling.
We should open up smaller areas up there.
We need to fuel our expanding economy so that we can provide the best lives for our American citizens.
There are 632 chemicals used in the fracking process, 25% of which cause cancer, 50% of which cause issues with the nervous system and kidneys, and 75% of which cause issues with your respiration system. So if we are truly looking out for our people, we would never consider fracking as a viable option.
I mean, there has to be some kind of compromise we can come to where we can agree on what can and cannot be done.
And we effectively pass this bill. Then, where do we get our oil?
Do we get it? Do we have to pay the countries in the Middle East and North Africa, where we get a majority of our oil, billions and millions of dollars so we get supplied with oil, even though we disagree with those nations and they do not have our best interests in mind?
If the Democrats are willing to propose other ways that we can give these Americans jobs, I'd be happy to hear that.
We have to take our environment first and where we will be living for the next decades, and take our economy second, because we can get oil from other places, such as Canada.
The economy and the environment are both valued parts. We need to strike a compromise between the two.
We don't believe that Israel, the entirety of Jerusalem should be that Israel can just lay claim to that alone. We believe that they can lay claim to West Jerusalem, so we're probably going to put something in there, and we can vote on that, that states that recognizes West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, but not East Jerusalem.
Senator Rubio from Florida posed the question of how do we ensure safety for both sides, considering that Palestine has in the past attacked West Jerusalem. And I think that is a very big issue that we have to address.
I believe we should recognize the entirety of Jerusalem as their own, and I believe that we should support Israel as they have supported us.
I think my party would rather have a united Israel rather than a cracked and divided Jerusalem.
Other areas and other religions should be able to access Jerusalem, and making all of Jerusalem under the control of one country is unacceptable.
An open border would be completely disastrous, and Jerusalem must be united under one country.
Keep in mind that Palestine hasn't been recognized by international leaders as a country.
Yeah, we should. Okay,
We'll do everything to shut down this bill.
In theory, that idea works, but in practice, it won't.
But what do you want to change about the
As a Republican or as a Democrat, you need to decide, is it worth it to obstruct everything and get nothing done, or are you going to try to compromise and at least pass something?
Now, personally, and as a party, we do support Israel and making Jerusalem the undivided capital of Israel. But we also recognize that the Democratic Party may not agree with that. So what better than to consult the two nations themselves and to come to a compromise?
How are you going to convince these two nations to talk to each other while simultaneously not making it look like you support Palestine?
We're not going to break for lunch.
Senator Johnson, motion to open debate.
That is in order. Feel free to do what you know is right. I address that especially to the Democratic Party, because especially on the Jerusalem embassy bill, it is really important for our national security and also to maintain our relationship with the key regional ally, Israel.
They're a key strategic ally, and Netanyahu has expressed that he wants the embassy moved, and we should show that we support Israel.
We can't just let Israel commit illegal acts against the state of Palestine just so that we can preserve an ally.
By not moving the embassy to Jerusalem, we are silently extending solidarity and allegiance to the Palestinians, such as Hamas and PLO.
We have two options here. Either support one ally in the Middle East and lose the support of every other country in the Middle East, who together contribute more than just Israel, or keep the rest of the Middle East and lose Israel.
One of my values is loyalty. We cannot turn our back on the Israeli people in their time of need. We need to show our support for our ally by moving our embassy to Jerusalem.
It's foolish to move it to a highly contested area where not only the ambassador and the embassy will be threatened, but will send the message again to the Palestinians that you are not valued.
They are our allies. We cannot turn our backs on them in their time of need.
It's very difficult to travel all the way from Tel Aviv to Ramallah every time they need to have a discussion with Palestinian officials. Moving from West Jerusalem to Ramallah is only a matter of a 10-kilometer drive.
There are shootings and bombings that happen and occur daily there. That is not a safe place to put our citizens. So yes, we must think of Israel and Palestine, but we also must think of ourselves.
It encourages Israel to remove military occupation of East Israel and give it back to the Palestinians, but it's not conditional upon that fact.
So by supporting West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, we're making a compromise between both Republicans and Democrats.
What do you plan to do regarding Tel Aviv?
What about the troops in East Jerusalem?
We feel that having in the United States recognizing only West Jerusalem will be enough in terms of this, so that the Palestinians and the Israelis know that we don't support their actions in simply conquering other parts of Jerusalem, but that we also support them as a nation.
It is not a misuse of power if we are supporting our allies and trying to find peace in a troubled region.
This bill, first of all, it allows us to recognize West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and so it allows us to foster better relationships with Israel as opposed to simply declaring that none of Jerusalem is their capital, or simply ignore the other states.
You can't just say that all of a sudden families who have settled in East Jerusalem, families who live there, people who work there, they have a stable job, they're doing well, and all of a sudden you're making all of those families move out.
If you close debate on an amendment or on a bill, then you can move to actually vote on that amendment or on that bill substantively, for which you need a simple majority to pass. So either close debate and vote on the thing, or table it, not vote, move on to the next thing.
Yeah, motion to close debate and move into voting procedure for Amendment 1.1.
All those in favor of the Amendment 1.1, please raise your placard. This amendment fails.
We would need a 2/3 majority to close debate on the bill. If this is approved, we would then move to a substantive vote, which would require a simple majority to approve the bill and send it to the House of Representatives. All those wishing to close debate on the Jerusalem bill, please raise your placards. Okay, this motion fails. So I would recommend that you guys have a quick caucus, decide on whether you're going to table this bill or move on to the next one.
And this bill must be passed because it is an extremely important bill that could potentially provide stability in a very troubled, unstable region.
We can't just table it for later. This is an issue we need to address now. We need to vote on it now.
The Democrats can indeed halt the passage of bills, and the Republicans cannot do much about it unless they get a handful of Democrats to vote with them. Therefore, this is why compromise is necessary, and why you must not affect that relationship in the morning, otherwise this is the fruit. So, we are going to give you guys a 3-minute unmonitored caucus. I recommend you get in party.
We should try one more time
All those wishing to close debate on this bill, please raise your placards at this time.
Yes! Yes! We're voting procedure! Come on!
This motion fails. If you're voting to table, please raise your placards.
No!
The presidential candidate
must display their 1.5 years worth of tax returns. So.
On the topic of redaction of information, the candidate has to make sure that, has to first run that by people such as the Federal Election Commission and the Secretary of the Treasury.
Would the FEC or the Secretary of Treasury look at said candidates' life tax returns just to make sure said candidate hasn't been going clean for 18 months?
Could, but that's not in this bill because this is particularly referring to what the public gets to know.
All those for the amendment. Please raise your placards high. This amendment fails. All in favor of closing debate and voting on the bill?
Yes. Vote on this thing. Yes.
Are all those for passing the bill?
No.
Kill the bill. Oh yes.
This bill fails. This bill
The locations in blue are the areas where companies are currently allowed to lease and basically explore for oil and natural resources. The area in red is what is currently not allowed, and the area next to California and Washington and Oregon on the Pacific coast is the area currently in question. And the bill that was on the floor says that these 4 different areas off the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington cannot be used for drilling. And Senators Sessions and Portman have proposed an amendment.
Opens the district with the most amount of oil up for leasing as determined by the aforementioned study.
Any research of other energy sources besides oil?
There already are plenty of programs for new alternative energy research. Cortez Masto.
Oh, is this a Ocean Protection Act at all?
It actually really isn't an Ocean Protection Act.
So basically there are these 4 areas off the coast of California, right? And each of them are currently under consideration for leases, even though what that basically means is that an oil company can go and ask the state of California to lease a particular a site for drilling, right? So what this bill would do is that it would take 3 of those locations, so 3 out of 4, and it would make these sites unavailable for leases. And it would take 1 of those sites and make it available for leasing, as well as the Alaskan region, which you see right there.
As sponsors of the bill from Oregon, Senator Wyden and I feel extremely offended that Senator Sessions and Senator Portman take this bill and mold it for their own selfish gain. At the end of the day, we can choose to save our environment and animals or gain a few dollars. Vote no. Thank you.
We are protecting the Oregon, Washington District, the Northern California District, and the Central California District. That is a lot of wildlife. That is a lot of animals saved. Thank you.
We are just fracking more oil and taking around 8 steps back by opening more fracking, and people are dying from natural explosions in the oil mines.
We will be killing our own species. We'll be killing thousands of animals.
Just 5 days ago, there was an oil spill in Tokyo Bay caused by us because of a Navy ship. And also, as for being a long-term solution, well, we're already running out of oil to drill. And we can just use new energy, such as solar power, hydroelectric power, wind power. We need to move into the future and stop just using oil.
I would really like to encourage all of these Republican senators to look past the oil companies who are paying for their campaigns and do what is right for our environment. Protect our sea life, protect our oceans, protect our people.
By buying oil companies from places around the world, we could, in a few years, we could be in a huge debt. We don't want that.
I specifically remember working with Senator Wyden on this bill, and now he has turned his back. Why is that?
They want to turn their backs on the 650,000 people along the coast of our country who work in industries that would be destroyed, wiped off the map by any oil development. That industry is worth $60 billion.
Reminder, in order to close debate, order of movement vote of need 2/3. Unfortunately, you only got a simple majority.
This isn't our right to decide. This is California and these other states' right to decide.
All those wishing to vote for the West Coast
Wait, is this
offshore drilling bill. With amendment. Raise your placards now.
Wait, we're gonna win this. We're gonna win. Oh, we have Biden.
Seal in Wales, be ready. This bill passes. Please pick up all of your papers, take your computers, take your water bottles. Do not pollute. God bless.